Welcome to the first webcast or webinar of the Aleks online program being used at the Hillel Day School of Boca Raton. Instead of sending out grades, I'd like to provide you a tutorial about the Aleks Data Dashboard, which is available to you at all times during your child's year-long subscription to Aleks, and provides the most up-to-date analysis of your child's history and progress in the online math program. In this tutorial, we will look at 5 major categories: the current learning that your child is engaged in as represented in the iconic Aleks pie, the topics that have been attempted, mastered, not mastered, and are ready to learn, the time on task, the rate of learning, and you'll see the account summary, which is the history of courses that your child has completed since the start of the year. We want to thank Leora Cohen for volunteering to have her profile on air for everyone to see. So the first thing we need to do is to ask you to log on to Aleks tonight with your child present. He or she will be able to log in. You don't need to know anything right there. Then what you need to do is scroll your mouse over Report. Right up here, you see Help, Worksheet, Inbox, and Report. And I want you to click on Report. Right in front of you, front and center, is the Aleks pie. What you need to do is scroll over each slice of the pie to see what exactly your child has been learning. Right here we see in whole numbers, Leora has completed this whole slice of the pie. In fractions, she still has a few to do: multi-step word problems involving fractions and multiplication. The same for decimals and percents. Here's what needs to still get done. So you take your mouse and scroll over the pie. Remember, the darker color is what your child has already mastered, and the lighter color is what's left to complete. And we can see here that Leora has almost completed another pie. So that's one aspect of your ability to look at the progress of your child. As you scroll down the page, you can see what your child can do. It says here what Cohen can do. Well, you can actually look and click on any of these aspects of the course: decimals and percents, fractions and proportions. Now remember, every child is in a different course according to his or her level. What you can do with your child is you can click on any one of these, and your child should be able to show you that they indeed do remember and have mastered this aspect. Kids, get ready to show your parents that you are very capable in all of these many topics. Now, if you go further down the page, you can see what your child is ready to learn next. This is the stuff that's still in the course that your child, when they initially took the placement exam for this course, did not demonstrate mastery and needs to learn. But even more so, it's what they're ready to learn. So they have completed, by completing all the stuff up here, they are now ready to learn these more complicated topics. Okay, so scrolling down a little bit further, here's an interesting category: what Leora has tried but has not yet mastered. So this is a great place if you want to work with your children and to help them advance and to help them push through when they might not want to take on a challenge. You come over to this, what your child has attempted but not yet mastered, and ask them, why don't you go ahead tonight and spend your 10 minutes of homework on multi-step word problems involving fractions and multiplication. I'll be right here if you need a little bit of help. Because this is obviously, this section is something that's giving your child just a little bit of trouble. And or you can remind them that they can always ask me when they're in class. Okay, scrolling down a little bit further on this page. Here you see the history of your child's progress in this course, Mathematics Level 5. It's not all the courses that this student has taken. We'll be looking at the history of all the courses that your child has completed at a different point in the webinar. This is just for this class. So what do we have going on here? Well, the class changed. Leora entered this class on 9/22/2014 and took an assessment and landed here Out of the 266 topics of the course, she mastered 199, which is represented in the blue color. She then learned 20 more topics, which is represented in the green, and the yellow are the topics left to learn. Then, since she learned so much, they gave her an assessment. And when she took that assessment on September 29th, instead of the initial assessment where there were 199 topics learned, she demonstrated mastery of 224, which is amazing, and since then has learned another 19 topics. So here, this is an important aspect right over here. These are the topics learned since the last assessment. There are 19 of them. And the hours in Aleks are 8 hours since the last assessment. And here you have the rate of learning, topics learned per hour since the last assessment. This is an interesting number. You always want the student to be learning at least 2 topics per hour because you want the child to have a feeling of success. Sometimes the child may be learning many topics per hour, and that would indicate that the course is either too easy, but it might not be too easy because somehow they tested that they needed that. Well, that just means then that they needed to be retaught and review that information, and they're flying through it with just a little bit of review. So please do keep in mind when you look at the history to remember to look at topics per hour. And it shouldn't be at 1 topic per hour because that might mean that the course is too high, too difficult and challenging. And it really shouldn't be higher than 7 topics an hour because that might mean that we need to just advance the student to the next course. So be keeping this in mind. In the beginning, many of the kids did need to be retaught, and they did have very high rates of learning, lots of topics per hour. I'm not worried about that now because as we're advancing after Sukkot to Hanukkah, that rate of learning should stabilize somewhere between 2 and 6 topics an hour. Okay, let's move on a little bit here. If we bring you back up to the top of the page, I'd like to have you look at a different piece of data. We were looking at the pie report. Now I want you to look at time and topic. So go ahead and scroll over time and topic and click that link. This is going to show you how much time and the topics attempted and the topics mastered that your child has spent in this course only. We're going to look somewhere else on the dashboard to see the entire history. So the first thing you need to do, we just clicked on time and topic, and this is what comes up. And it's only showing us from 10:06 to 10:20, which looks like no work at all, which really is because we were all away enjoying the Zman Simchasenu with the Chag of Sukkot. But now we're back on task, and what we want to do is come over here to change date range. We want to see more. So when I clicked on it, it gives me the opportunity to go back. Well, I'm going to go all the way back to the start of school, August 25th, and the end date is today, October 20th. And then I click compute, and I want you to do that as well so you can see what your child has been. It will then compute, and what you're going to see is that the time period in which Leora was working in this course started on 9/22 because before that there's just no information. It's not that Leora wasn't working, she was working in another course. But this is the time that she has spent in this course. And you should keep something in mind. On any given day, a student is expected to do 40 minutes of class time work, which is, for example, here on Wednesday 10/1, she did just about 40 minutes, and here just under on Thursday. But you're also expected to do 10 minutes a day at night. So you are looking in this column, time spent in Aleks, and on any given date when we had school and your child was present, for the number 50 minutes. What we see here is we have a student who's doing a lot of math homework, and that is pretty impressive. At that time, we were running a contest, I believe, and Leora was a great challenger and contender for the title, and she did so much extra homework. Kol hakavod to Leora. But in general, when we're not running contests, you should be looking for 50 minutes on any given day. Okay, now the topics attempted on that day are here, and you can click on it. So you want to see, you ask your child, what'd you do in school today? Nothing. Well, here you know exactly what your child did. Go right over to the topics. Here's what Leora worked on today. And this little asterisk is what was mastered. Okay, so she attempted area of a triangle, sum of the angle measures of a quadrilateral, and finding the side length of a rectangle given its perimeter or area. Of those three, she mastered this one. You can at any time say, hey, I think I remember how to do area of a triangle, 1/2 base times height. Want to try that together with me? And you can work with your child. But if you just want to know what your child's actually doing, you can click on this at any time. So here were the topics attempted that day, and here this column is topics mastered, and I can click on it and I see that it was sum and angle measures of a quadrilateral, and you can always click on it again to see if you want your child to teach you about what he or she learned. Something else to keep in mind is that we highly encourage you that when your child is home from school sick, they should still get online and do Aleks unless they're really, really not feeling well. But if they're just feeling a little bit sick, then in the comfort of your own home, they can get online, still in PJs with a cup of hot chocolate. They can do their math. So we very much encourage that and hope that you'll take advantage of still allowing your child to progress and work even though they're feeling a little bit under the weather. Finally, I'd like to draw your attention to the history that your child has through the beginning of school and all the courses that your child has taken and passed. So if you go up to the top right where the name of the student is and click on the arrow, and instead of logging out, go to Account Home. What you'll see here is the history of your child's work. So everybody started here in this course, Mathematics Level 3. Leora progressed. She started on 9.2 in Level 4, and then 9.22 moved out. And here she moved all the way up and is presently in Mathematics Level 5. So for example, if you want to see your child's progress in earlier courses, you just come up to this. Again, we went up to the name and we went to Account Summary, and then you can do a summary report. I just clicked on it, and it generates a report of that first course. And while it's generating, I'll just let you know that you could also click, there was a little link to make it active so that if you still want your student working in this course, because you can see, for example, right here, here's dark blue and light blue, Leora was switched out of this class before she finished the last sliver of the pie, the last section. So if you would want your child to go back and finish, you can click on that word activate. I'll bring you back there if I can, and she can still go back. But meanwhile, if you want to see the courses that have been completed since the start of the year, here's where you want to be. And this shows you that this was math, the course was Math 7.3, which was the class everyone started with. Here's the work that Leora did, 117 out of 127 topics. Down here you can see the initial assessment was on 8/25, the first day we came back from summer. On that day, she scored 85 out of 127 topics she mastered, and then worked aggressively and spent 5 hours and 48 minutes in this class and grew from 85 out of 127 topics to 117. Remember, the blue is what's mastered, the yellow is what's left to master. Okay, so this is our first tutorial, and I welcome anybody to please email me, and we are going to have it as a homework assignment that you've watched this video, but I'm also going to have regular check-ins so that I know that the parents are involved in monitoring, looking at, and appreciating the progress that your child is making in Aleks, and I hope that you can see the value of this data above and beyond a regular progress report or the grades being listed on DDC. Thank you so much for your time.